Something is breaking down in real time, and we're feeling it. We are feeling more anxious than usual. We are longing to numb out, maybe prone to certain addictions that we thought we had overcome. Maybe we're exhausted. Maybe we're sleeping a lot. Maybe there's a lot of headaches. Maybe there's a blazing clarity that all of a sudden just goes away. We are crashing out with so much doubt. There's this knowing that something really big is trying to emerge in our lives, but we can't quite grasp what it is. Things are not the way they used to be. The old ways are not working anymore. And the old systems that used to work are not working anymore. This is real and it's happening collectively. And today we're going to discuss it. So welcome to the Karena, Virginia podcast, where we expect the best and get it. I am so glad to be here with you today, because when we're together in community and we share these things, it just heals. It heals all of us. And sharing this way and opening up about all of this is essential at this time in the world. Our identity's job is to keep us safe. And by keeping us safe, the illusion is that we need to keep things the same. So we have our routines. Sometimes we have our lists. Sometimes we do everything we can to control outcomes to keep things the same. But the universe, the divine, this huge time of transformation is pressing back. And that way that we used to keep things in routine and in safety and the same might not be working anymore. So what do? We have to heal our nervous systems, because our nervous systems are rewiring collectively at this time. And in order to thrive in this time of great change, we have to have serenity within ourselves. And we have to tune into that intuitive knowing, learn how to say no when we need to take time to care for ourselves. This rewiring that's happening is happening collectively. And I do believe that we are in a time of great change, but this time of great change is truly propelling us into a time of miraculous wonder and joy and opportunity. But the old systems, the old structures, they're falling down. Even the system of the patriarchy is crumbling, and we feel it. Our nervous systems feel it. And today I'm going to talk all about that and a few things that we can do. And I also want to mention that you are not alone in this. And it is essential that we do not compare ourselves to others. We never know what another is going through. And some people don't want to go deeply into what they're feeling. Some people don't want to feel. So having a community or a tribe of people that share and people who express is a sure way to recognize that you're not alone. Sometimes journaling is also an essential part of this healing, because we're able to purge what is no longer working for us, and we're able to recognize where we are being hypervigilant or where our nervous system is stuck. So one thing that I find is so important right now is spending as much time as possible in nature and watching, and I talk about this a lot, but watching how nature operates, watching how the animals operate. Animals, they often sleep earlier than humans and they wake before us because there is an innate knowing that that is important for survival. And when we go to sleep earlier and we wake earlier, we are much healthier. Our nervous systems are able to sustain a lot more throughout the day. Something else that nature teaches us is how trauma operates in the natural world compared to how we might get stuck in the trauma cycle. For example, if you ever see a squirrel shaking and we feel like, oh, is that squirrel okay? The majority of the time, the squirrel is fine. But what happened was it was chased by another animal and the squirrel had trauma. And the squirrel has an innate wisdom, which is to shake to release trauma. So, as human beings, when we experience trauma, we fight, flight, freeze, or appease. And obviously, in a traumatic moment, we're not just going to start shaking our body, but there is a wisdom in that and how we can shake out trauma when we're alone. The ancient yogis knew this. They did this thousands of years ago, shaking as a way to discharge and release trauma, shaking to prevent that trauma from being stuck in the body. So shaking when you're home, dancing around your house, releasing whatever it is an incredible way to free yourself from this collective discomfort in this rewiring that's happening. Spending time in nature, looking and observing nature, watching how right now it's fall, it's autumn, the chlorophyll is stripped from the leaves, and these leaves have the most beautiful color. And then the way nature works, the leaves, which I'm looking at through the window, they'll fall, and then we'll have these bare trees and the snow, or even just the way that the sun glistens on the trees, all of these natural ways that the divine created this thing we call nature is so healing. It's so profound. And really, if we pause and we recognize the beauty of it all, we can find tremendous comfort in that cycle of life. For example, the sun rises every morning and the sun sets every evening, and we can count on that. We can count on nature. We can create our own rhythms with nature as a way of truly feeling safe within ourselves. Something else that is so important at this time is the art of deep breathing. Deep breathing will help our nervous system in so many different ways. One of the most powerful aspects of deep breathing is that we are commanding that breath down to the base of the spine where there's fascia. And that fascia spreads. And when that fascia spreads, it sends signals to our nervous system to bring relaxation and to not activate more adrenaline, to not activate more cortisol, to not go into fight or flight. So we soften the belly. We take a deep breath. We command that breath all the way down to the base of the spine. We relax the shoulders. We hold that breath. And then we release the breath and we let go. So let's just practice that together. Inhaling deeply, drawing that breath down to the base of the spine. Holding that breath. Relaxing the shoulders. And then letting that breath go. Something else that we can do is square breathing, inhaling for the count of 4. Holding that breath for 4. And let it go really deep into the belly. Releasing it for the count of 4. Holding the breath out for the count of 4. And doing that until we feel our nervous system regulate again. Something else that we can do is we can close our right nostril and inhale and exhale through only the left nostril. This will bring a calmness to the mind, to the body, to the nervous system. If we're really tired and we need some energy to show up for something, we can close our left nostril and we can breathe in and out through the right nostril. And that will activate more energy for us. But it's essential that we really recognize that the nervous system going into that fight mode in order to find energy is not sustainable. It's going to create an exhaustion. And we deserve to take care of ourselves. It doesn't mean that we just sit around and watch Netflix all day. This is hard work, but it means that we look at what's happening and we do what we need to do to help regulate ourselves. Also recognizing what kind of energy we are allowing in our energy field. If we are in a situation where we have to be around certain people who have a difficult energy for us to be around, sometimes it helps to put ourselves into a bubble of white light. Just visualize a white light around us. And then sometimes going into that deep breathing, square breathing, we're kind of zipping up our auric fields, or we're zipping up our energy body. And in yoga, we have these energy centers. We have the 7 chakras that are very well known, that more and more people are talking about now, that start at the base of the spine, go all the way up to the top of the head. But we also have an 8th chakra, which is an energy body that is a frequency that lives around our body. And if we have dents or tears, or if we are not keeping that energy field strong, we can absorb other people's energy and we can find ourselves with lower immune systems for being able to sustain our own wellness. And I don't only mean getting a cold or catching some kind of a bug. If we're very porous, highly sensitive people, we can actually absorb other people's energy. And as this whole rewiring is happening collectively, we need to be very aware of that and to consciously zip up our energy field, put ourselves into that white egg of light, and be able to be around those people if we have to be around them without absorbing anything that may be toxic to us. And again, we look at nature. If we look at the most beautiful gardens, the way flowers grow is through a morphic field. It's an energy field that communicates. And when there's a healthy garden, there are healthy flowers that bloom as well. So what this whole rewiring is doing to us collectively is creating a new morphic field, a morphic field where living from our heart and not the ego, where being loving and living in a loving world and not one filled with fear and anger and rage and hatred is the norm, where love is the norm. This is what this rewiring is about. It's an awakening. And if you are someone who has been considered weird for your entire life because you've had hope, or because you believe in the woo-woo things, or because you've been a tree hugger, or because you believe in angels and you maybe have seen religion as something that has separated us, whereas true spirituality is a way of loving others, even if they have different beliefs, but are still in a prayerful, loving, heartfelt existence. First of all, you're not alone. And second of all, you're a pioneer, because that's what this time is about. So we are waking up and we are finding one another. You may even be finding that new people are coming into your life, and there's synchronicities where you see someone and you have a conversation and you know the same person, and then you realize, oh my gosh, this is happening. And oh yeah, okay, so I'll go to, or I'll meet you there. Or maybe you end up seeing people over and over again, and there's some kind of message there. Maybe you are seeing butterflies. Maybe you are having experiences where you're seeing these incredible rays of light coming into your existence, or you're seeing orbs, or you're having a spiritual awakening. All of this is real. And I'm simplifying it here because it actually is very simple. The problem is, simple does not mean easy. So this simplicity of nature is with ease for our surroundings. But for those of us that feel things and are having experiences with this rewiring, we get to recognize that the reality is it's not always easy. Simple? Yes. Easy? No. And that's why the more that we come together and the more that we share, the more that we are able to feel community and rise above and not feel so alone. Sometimes that means using our voice as well. Sometimes it means that we are being called upon to speak. Sometimes it means that we are being called upon to be the change. And only we know, by tuning into that quiet voice within, if it is coming from a place of purpose or if it's coming from a place of the ego mind and the need to call some system out just because we feel like it, compared to the need to call a system out because we are part of the change. It comes from the inner alignment. And again, we can get there through nature, through finding ways to go to sleep earlier, through deep breathing. Sometimes we just need to shake it out and journal and share, find like-minded people. And before we finish this podcast today, there is an incredible way to help the brain to send signals to the nervous system to create that experience of safety as all of these systems in the world are changing. And I'm going to share that with you. EMDR, which is a trauma healing that has become very apparent and very helpful in this day and age, is an exceptional way of healing past trauma. And EMDR actually comes from very ancient yoga practices, which were honed thousands of years ago. And I was teaching a yoga retreat, and I met someone who wrote the very first EMDR books. And she and I discussed this because I asked her about it. I said, it's very similar to what we do in Kundalini yoga. And we talked about how Kundalini yoga comes from the Himalayas and how these ancient sages recognized some of these practices and how they can help the nervous system and human beings. So something that we do in yoga is to close the eyes. And obviously, if you're driving, you're not going to do this, but we close the eyes and the eyes roll up and inward, and they focus at the third eye point. And as yogis, we've always talked about the third eye point being the point of intuition, but it's more. So what happens when we move our eyes is that they send a signal to the optic nerve, and the optic nerve sends a signal to the brain so that the brain will stop overthinking and the brain will stop sending the signals to the nervous system that deregulate us. So EMDR with the eye movements is doing something very similar. And it is an incredible form of healing from trauma. If you're not working with someone and practicing EMDR on your own, something that you can do is just close your eyes, let the eyes roll up and inward, and focus at the point right above the bridge of the nose, almost as if you had a unicorn horn coming out. And even while you're practicing this, you can go into that square breathing or deep breathing. So there you have it. These are some tips, some tools to help you as our entire society is collectively rewiring. And remember again that you are not alone in this. Last podcast, I promised that in this podcast, I would talk a little bit about why there are so many situations now with the empath and the spectrum of narcissism, or should I say self-absorbed spectrum. And I have my own belief in this. And this is something that I have really meditated on a lot and I'm going to share. And this is something that might be pretty deep and it might not be for everyone. But my prayer in this is that it's helpful to whoever is meant to hear this. Trauma is being brought to the surface in this rewiring. People who are overly giving and overly self-abandoning are possibly doing more of that because it's a way to get out of our own way and our way to disassociate from our own trauma in this very loud, chaotic world where the polarization is real. and where we want to connect and where we want so much to be in community with people, where we may feel lonely, where we may feel isolated, where there's so much information coming and we don't know what to believe anymore. Again, that trauma can create more of a nature within us to be codependent, to rescue, to appease, to please. At the same time, trauma for those that are more self-absorbed can create more of a need for them to take care of themselves as their means of survival. So we have to be careful that we don't see the self-absorbed as shiny and compelling, and that we don't enable that and we see what's happening. We also can be aware of what is happening collectively. And this is way beyond AI. This is about getting in touch with ourselves. This is about tuning into that innate inner wisdom, because everything we need is already within us. Our journey is to disarm all of the obstacles that we have put up in our own lives that have prevented us from tuning into that inner love, that inner wisdom. We are not broken. We are not fatally flawed. We are just like the rose, and every rose has a thorn. And we are here in this thing we called life, and we are doing our best. And in this noise that we are living in, we can find one another, we can find collective peace, and we can learn how to love ourselves enough that we are able to truly stop abandoning ourselves and truly expect the best. And when we expect the best, we get it, because that is the law. And that is a law that is not changing. That is the law. And there is absolutely no reason why your life cannot change for the better. So be you, love yourself, and shine brightly, because you are just as much of a diamond as the person that you think is a brighter diamond than you are. So trust yourself, trust your innate wisdom. And until we meet again, may blessings be all around you. Mwah. Please subscribe to the Karena, Virginia podcast, where we expect the best and we get it. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can follow me on Spotify and Apple. And it really is such a joy for me to show up. And may the sun shine upon you, and may the world remember that the sun doesn't choose where it shines. It shines on everyone.